Thank you. Welcome. Oh my God. And now I know what kind of music I should have picked for my intro. And I am not lazy, but I'm so multitasking diverse that actually I should have put all the ready music on this way. Is like this hand waving all the time, like this actually Norwegian white without live hand, right? Welcome to Diversity is the Game Changer. Oh my God, today is so special episode. I'm so happy, honored, privileged, and we have already tasted. I am already tasted actually the beauty of creation of this talent, which I'm going to present you now. Barry Goldstein, welcome to the show. Welcome, please. Well, very, 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 very warm welcome.
Thank you. I feel the warmth and so great to be with you today. And thank you for having me and sharing your beautiful audience with me.
Thank you so much. Because my beautiful audience, they could not listen actually the very beautiful magic of the sound transformation you've been giving me just a couple of minutes ago. But let's have it like a dessert. We we just kind of give them starter, heating them up, and then like dessert also actually this really transformative magic. And now I would like to make a bit intro because you have accomplished so much already, though you look so beautiful and young. And how actually when I was like reading your bio, like how he could actually manage doing all that, you probably started in the kindergarten, right? But anyway, we all started singing and making our own sounds with the universe in the kindergarten. But intro. Okay, the episode title, From Sound to Science: How Music Rewires the Mind, Heals the Body, and Expands Human Potential. So today's episode, like I already say, not just a conversation, it's an experience. And I've already started experience that with this music. We are honored to welcome Barry Goldstein. I hope I pronounced correct.
Yes.
Barry. Yeah, sorry, Slavic accent. A
Oh,
visionary composer, sound expert, and pioneer at the intersection of music, neuroscience, and human transformation. That's why I have problem with over 3 decades of profound global impact, starting in kindergarten, like I said. Barry has redefined what music can do, not just how it can sound like. A Grammy Award-winning producer, his work bridges artistic expression and scientific innovation, transforming sound into a tool for healing, emotional regulation, and cognitive performance. His collaboration with world-renowned thought leaders like Daniel Amen, Joe Dispenza, Dave Asprey highlight his unique ability to translate frequency into transformation. Barry is also the creator of, now you should help me, acoustic ethicals.
Acousticeuticals.
Acousticeuticals, yes. And I remember you have even explained it with our pre-conversation, but now I would like this dessert will be for our audience. A groundbreaking concept where sound becomes medicine, supporting stress reduction, emotional balance, increased focus, and productivity. So his music is used in hospitals, hospices, and medical environments worldwide, while also shaping the identity of brands through his signature concept of sonic signatures, helping leaders and organizations amplify their mission through the sound. So Barry's work doesn't just reach audience, it resonates within them. You like Barry? Oh my
I like
God.
that. Very
Uh,
nice.
this is this guest on my show. Oh, I'm so excited. Okay, but before all this, when actually it's so much, I mean, you have already accomplished and achieved. It was one day, right? A little boy named Barry, probably already singing, making interaction with our universe that is actually our audience everywhere by sound, by music. So let's dive a little bit backwards. And actually, I would like to know what in your childhood, what role chi- I mean, which role your childhood actually was playing in your relationship with sound, music, emotional awareness? Maybe not yet, but at least sound music, because I do believe we actually all our roots from childhood, right? Pretty
Hmm.
much actually how we are now. It impacts a lot of adulthood mindset. So can you tell us about your childhood and interaction? Thank you.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm in total agreement with you that music creates what we now know to be autobiographical memories that literally define our lives and have the ability to create soundscapes and the soundtracks of our life, which can start at a very young age and can go obviously all the way to the time when we're transitioning. Music is that language that can break through and create that transformation. So it did start at a young age for me,
Mhm.
and the sweet spot, which I still think is still the sweet spot, is curiosity. And I remember literally sitting on a piano bench with my mother, and we had a piano in our home, and
Mhm.
my mother didn't, she didn't learn music formally, but she played by ear. And I remember sitting on the piano with me and her taking her fingers like over mine.
Uh-huh.
I could almost still see them, and playing a song that she played by ear called Yellowbird. It was
Uh-huh.
by Harry Belafonte. And as she was playing the notes, she was singing the words on top of them. And I remember being fascinated by that. And not only that, but when she stopped playing, that the notes were still kind of ringing in the air. There was something that was still in the environment, that could be heard, although she wasn't playing.
Wow.
And we know this to be now like reverb or spaces that the music still lingers past
Mhm.
the note being played. And I just remember being really curious about that. And it's like, wow, she stopped, but the music, there's still something happening here. I didn't know what to call it at that point. Now we know it's a harmonic and it's resonance. And that is my earliest memory of that, which ended up being really important for the type of music that I ended up doing. Right after I had a long history and career within the music business and producing pop music. I co-produced a Grammy Award-winning track with Les Paul, right? So this initially was not my world of the healing aspects of music,
Mhm.
but those notes that lingered in the air became a signature within my compositional style of ambient music, and all about the space between the notes, not just the notes you play, but what happens in between those notes, and having an awareness within that you have to give people room for to move into a state which we call the parasympathetic state,
Mhm.
where
Mhm.
they are moving into a state where their body repairs and rejuvenates, and their mind as well feels safe enough to take a journey. So that whole endeavor with my mother, really echoed throughout my life into how the space between the notes can help people, as well as it becoming a style within the music as well. And so there are no mistakes. Everything that we learn in our lives, we end up utilizing in some way in our lives to assist us. And sometimes we don't always know what that is. Like when I was, you know, 3 years old and sitting on that piano bench, I had no idea. But again, what wove through and what has been integral for me is not just what I know, because obviously music involves a certain skill set and a certain mastery and studying and
Mhm.
hours of playing with sound in the studio and all of that. But it's also just as important what we don't know. And for me, music has always been an experiment, a journey, not a destination. And that's the one thing that stays the same throughout my career. We can talk more about that, like how
Mhm.
I transcended into doing this. That's always been the pinnacle of that, is maintaining that child's curiosity through it all.
Wow, 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 wow. First of all, thank you so much for sharing this really deep, profound story and this connection of your mother and giving you this experience and how actually it really became a blueprint for the your transformative journey of discovering yourself and not actually limiting by doing one stuff but going on this journey again and again, right? And I think this patience and the sound between notes, like you said, this is so important, especially now in this fast-paced, changing, challenging, chaotic world all the time. People
Mhm.
keep them busy by being busy all the time, right? And especially social media, everything kind of, unfortunately, sometimes feels like so rapid, not that deep, hollow, shallow, like, because music, I think it's, I don't know. For me, it's that holistic, deep experiment experience that actually goes through my mind, then body, then soul. Then I even can feel like what kind of expression in which part of body. But then I should
Mhm.
really pause, breathe, don't be reactive to anything, and like just me and music. I think it's so powerful tool that many people, unfortunately, and especially Gen Z, sometimes underestimate. And I'm so happy that you are on the mission actually to open
Mhm.
a depth, the rainbow
Yes.
of all this, like very very profound experience, right? But of course all this experience, they are like this, like all our life. I'm sure that it cannot be linear when you want really to discover your journey. So I'm sure also it was probably your helping tool out of many situations. It's, I think, the
Yes.
most deep music actually in our times when we have the scars. I
Mhm.
assume like my creative fuel comes from the moment when I really have a lot of scars on my soul. So thank you so much for this very beautiful story with your mom. And I'm so happy that actually I'm sure that you already talk, you still talk so warmly about her, that she probably, and you have, they were very supportive on your journey, right? When you discovered that you want to do, or I don't know, I'm guessing.
Yes, actually they were, but I would love to say as well that the story with my mom didn't end there as well, because the start of that, where was in that curiosity, led me to creating a lot of different compositions, which we'll dive into. But when my mom was actually passing,
Mhm.
and there was a lot of fear and anxiety around what was going on. It wasn't something that she prepared for. It was something that occurred
Okay.
within a short period of time, and I was able to play music for her in her actual, when she was passing, a piece of music I composed called Genesis, that it works with targeting the heart at a relaxed state, and it's very very ambient, not a lot of melody going on. And so it came full circle when she actually gifted me that curiosity as a
Mhm.
child. I was able to utilize it and help her in her final moments move into a place where she felt safer, and she was able to let go of the physical and move into her transition. And I think important, because that experiment, and all of us experiment to some degree with whatever we do, whatever our mission, whatever our calling is. And
Mhm.
sometimes it doesn't happen overnight. It could take years, right? So for me to be able to give her that gift back was a journey of, of almost 55 years, right?
Mhm.
Between the time she gifted me and I gave that back to her. And so again, we're always in the right place at the right time. And it's about developing the mastery and skill set to create something beautiful in the world. And whether you're sharing it with one person or you're sharing it with 1 million. And I think you're right. We're about what you said about scrolling and influencing and all of that. We're so caught up in reaching a lot of people, and that's not always the case of how messages move out into the world. Sometimes they move out from one person having an amazing experience,
Mhm.
and that's some of my biggest successes and collaborations that I'm most proud of, like working with Dr. Joe Dispenza or working with Dr. Daniel Amen, came from a one-on-one relationship first that was then shared with a humongous audience. And it wasn't based upon, oh, I want to reach millions of people.
Mhm.
It was based upon, well, this is the music that healed me initially. and people find the audience when you put it out from a place of authenticity. People find you. Like you found me, I found you. We're having this conversation. It's going to another audience. It's all resonance. Something in me amplified something in you, whether it was through the music or something I said. That is by definition what resonance does. It amplifies one frequency with another. And we do that not just in music, we do that through interactions. We're constantly in training emotionally with each other as well, and making decisions, based on our brains and our brain types and our history of what resonates with us and what doesn't. What creates healing for one person doesn't create healing necessarily for all people. It's not a one size fits all.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for referring to us. And actually, this is so true. When I saw your profile on Instagram and you were connecting actually music as a tool. First of all, I do believe that music, it is the power, magical power that can unite people, that it's like ultimate inclusive magic tool, because basically we don't have to even speak on the same language. This is the magic frequency. We respond to each other, our heart and our energy respond through, right? And actually, I do believe now in this world, what is happening. I'm from Ukraine, and we don't dive in this political situation, but I mean all the tendencies that people are struggling, that every community is kind of in the transformational path of separating, not uniting. But I do believe the art of music, it's actually a very powerful tool for real inclusion and connection across cultures, across different mindsets. It is really, really powerful that by like, we always feel belongingness. Like if you find like special person and you're just singing hallelujah, and the same person also can sing hallelujah, immediately you like found in the bundle, okay, we speak the same language, right? It's so important. So, and like you have said, at the end of the day, it's like frequency and authenticity, right? And that's what is the deep ground of your music. It's so important that when you put out this music, it's your way to express yourself into the world. And then it's like magnifying these people, like you said, Joe Dispenza and other people who actually first you got bonded, guys, right? You really grew up, like, cross-pollinating, synergizing, and then like, wow, you gave a birth to that. It's so important. So can you tell me and of course my audience more about actually, yes, your career, and how your journey actually was shaping to come into this more healing music? And it's very interesting how actually you went your, let's say, elevation spiral, probably. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and I'll backtrack. I didn't want to not answer your question, but this flows into it perfectly about my parents supporting me as well.
Uh-huh.
And so that's a lot of my story starts off with that guitar behind me, which is a
Okay.
Gibson Les Paul. So when my dad bought me that guitar,
Uh-huh.
it was something that we couldn't afford at the time. And
Mm-hmm.
my parents were actually bought up during the Depression. So money, and their interpretation of lack and abundance, right, was something that they were cautious about money because they didn't have a lot of money growing up. So when we went to buy that guitar, that wasn't the guitar we went for. We were going to buy a guitar that was about a fifth of the price.
Okay.
And so when we were about to buy it, the salesperson knew that we were going to be buying a guitar. And he said, well, let me show you one more guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I was only about 14 or 15 years old. And he
Mm-hmm.
brings out that beautiful guitar, but it was also in this plush, hot pink, like velour. It was in the 70s, right? So
Amazing. My
he
favorite.
they opened it up, and I was like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
that was the guitar that my two favorite guitar players played, which was Jimmy Page for Led Zeppelin
Mm-hmm.
and Carlos Santana. They both played Gibson Les Pauls. And my father, of course, saw my face light up, and he wanted to buy me that guitar, but he took me outside and he asked me to make a promise to him.
Okay.
which was, if I buy you this guitar, you have to promise me that you're going to stick with music. Because, we really can't afford this guitar. Your mother's going to kill me when I, bring it home and show her the bill. But, it was his way of saying he believed in me, which meant so much because they didn't have a lot of money. So, of course, as a 14-year-old kid who wanted that guitar, I made the promise, not realizing that it wasn't just a promise. It was like a rite of passage. There was something going on there where he was breaking through his ancestral patterns of lack and trusting enough to invest in his son, and something that was going beyond his belief system there. Although he thought music was a nice hobby, he didn't really think it was going to be something that I would be able to do and sustain myself within making that promise. Many years, like, I would look at that guitar and coming up as a producer in New York City, and I was producing club music and house and electronic music and hip hop, and I would look at that guitar and say, oh my God, I could sell that guitar and have 3 months of rent,
Yeah.
but I would always remember that promise, and I would see the name Les Paul on the guitar, and this suddenly became a symbol of my dad's belief and his investment in me, and something in that, right? Talk about resonance. Because 30 years after my dad bought me the guitar, I ended up working with the person who invented the guitar, Les Paul, right? And ended up co-producing the best track for rock instrumental in 2005, which won a Grammy. So again, intention, frequency, all of these things don't always happen overnight. In terms of it creates these amazing synchronicities sometimes that take a long time to kind of move into, or they can happen right away. We don't always know, but that ended up moving me into a different direction. And also it moved me into a career within the music business, so to speak, that and I'm sure that you can relate to this, and your audience probably can as well, that sometimes we have this idea of what our careers are going to look like or be, and we put it on a pedestal, like we worship it. Oh my God, if I can just become a professional music producer, right? I wouldn't want anything else, as long as I could sustain myself and just do my art.
Exactly.
And then I got to that point, and it became something different. It became different than that kid who sat on his bed, like creating songs and just fascinated with birthing creation from nothing, and then 20 minutes later there was a song. And that went from, no, you have to produce a certain amount of songs, right? You have to do this by the end of the week. So creating a 4-minute pop song, but it taking 50 to 100 hours. And then from there, having to bring it into record companies and, well, no, this is not exactly what we were looking for. Right. Or, well, I like the song, but I don't love the artist. Or we do like it, and, we put out a record with it, but it became a more of a job than it
Yeah.
did a mission. Right. And I started to get burnt out within being in the music business and not getting a lot of sleep because I was up late hours, anxiety, around timelines and deadlines. And I remember just thinking, like, wow, this is not bringing me the joy that I thought it was going to. How do I get back to my heart? How do I get back to that 14-year-old kid? How do I get back to that 3-year-old kid, right, who sat on the piano in awe? And I just remember doing some searches online, and there was not a ton of information back then on it, but I remember seeing some research that our heart tempo at a relaxed state is at 60 beats per minute, and that music utilizing 60 beats per minute can bring us into a more relaxed state. And that's why a lot of classical music is at 60 beats per minute. Even some reggae music is at 60 beats per minute. So I said, well, if I'm trying to come back to my heart, and I understood beats per minute because that was the terminology terminology that DJs used,
Mhm.
right? This record's at 120 beats per minute for house music, right? At 128 beats per minute is more techno. So I understood the language of beats per minute, and that DJs used it to move the crowd's energy and their emotions, and they were able to target specific
Mhm.
states in
Mhm.
their sets. When I went out to clubs, like in the Limelight, you watch people move, and the next song takes them up, and then at the end of the night, it's slowing down. I was like, what would happen if I targeted my own heart at 60 beats per minute? And I set my metronome for that tempo. A metronome is something that we use in a program when we're using and we're recording music,
Mhm.
and it sets the tempo. And I took these hour-long journeys where I wasn't writing down music. I wasn't really composing it. It was more like I was just allowing the music to come through me,
Mhm.
and I was witness to it. I was hearing it as I was doing it, and just going intuitively with what was next. And I would do that for an hour at a time. And then I would go back, and because I didn't write it down, I would have to react intuitively to create layers,
Mhm.
similar to how an artist paints, and they
Mhm.
create, on a canvas, and then they use different colors, and there's layers of that. I was painting with sound, and I found myself moving to these very deep meditative states during the process, where time would disappear.
Mhm.
Right. And we talk about this in your community, right? Neurodiversity, when we have time where 8 hours disappears, right? It's these deep dives into focus that where we go down kind of like a rabbit hole, and we just get hyper focused within that state. And that's really what was happening for me. And I found through these experiments, which later became my series Ambiology, which was one of those pieces I played for my mom when she passed, even,
Mhm.
that as I started to share them with people, um, very, very gradually, because I'm like, no one's going to listen to this music, right?
Mhm.
It's
Mm.
hour-long pieces of music. It was like the opposite of what I was doing. There was nothing memorable about it. There was nothing you can sing. It didn't have a lot of repetitive melodies. And I didn't know at the time what was happening, which we know now, is my heart was in training to the music at that tempo, which we
Mhm.
call heart coherence. When we can move into those smooth, orderly states, our heart starts to produce those tempos within our heart start to produce smooth, orderly rhythms within our heart. And that also, we now know through research, produces more alpha brain waves when we're in those coherent heart states. There's this communication between heart and brain. But people weren't really talking about that then. All I knew is that I was moving into these meditative states and creating something that I had no idea what it really was, but it was healing for me. And I was, at the time, was seeing a massage therapist. She heard what I was doing, because my studio was in my house at that time. She said, "What are you working on? That doesn't sound like anything that you are doing, like with your career. What are
Mhm.
you doing?" And I said,
Mhm.
"Well, I'm just kind of like experimenting with these pieces." And she said, "Can I use them like with my clients? It's like perfect. This I've been looking for music like this that doesn't have like birds chirping in it." And because at that time, like new age music was like all, you
Yeah.
know birds and winds and
Wait,
all that stuff.
rain and yeah. Mhm.
Yeah, which is, some people really love that, but she didn't want to use that with her clients. She wanted something that she could use over and over again, where her
Mhm.
clients and herself lose track of time. And so if there's a bird that chirps at 22 minutes, they know where they are, right? Then you've gotten them out of that trance state that you want them in. So she started using it, and she said, you need to share this with more people. And so I said, "Oh, okay. Well, I have a friend who's going to the dentist." I'm like, "Well, why don't you try this during your root canal, see if it helps you?" And he's
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, I like use your music." And like literally, I was so much more relaxed during the procedure. A friend of mine whose mom had dementia, and they lived in Harlem, and it was very noisy at night, and she had a hard time getting to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And initially she was reluctant about using music, and then it became her go-to. It became something where she said, "Phil, can you play my music so I can go to sleep?"
Oh.
And again, right, that curiosity is like, well, something's happening here, because what resonated for me and worked with my healing, my anxiety and sleeping challenges, is now rippling out. People are feeling that. And there's something going on here where music is carrying, it's carrying the information, and it's carrying a field of its own that, like, was, some of it was explainable and some of it to me was unexplainable. So I started doing more research,
Mm-hmm.
and that led to me writing a book years later on all of this, called The Secret Language of the Heart. But it was a very gradual process, because I was like in two worlds. Like, I had my pop music and I had my healing music, and I was like at a crossroad, and kind of like a spiritual rite of passage with that, where I basically just asked God. I just said, "Where do you want me?" Like,
Mm-hmm.
I have this, the Grammy, and I have this music, but I don't know if I want to stay in the pop side or the healing side.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went into meditation with it. And basically, um, what I heard in meditation was that you can only serve one master. And I was creating a wall, right, of labeling. We love to label things, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Of, this is my healing music, this is my pop music. And
Mm-hmm.
I realized what I had to do was tear down that wall, and that everything that I would do from then on, I would consider to be healing music. I would consider it to be spiritual, even if I don't have to say it, because what I began to do was to began to invite something beyond myself in to collaborate with me within all of the creations. That curiosity turned into something that was much more grounded in a spiritual path as well. Like, music didn't just become music to me, it became my spiritual practice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, before I even touched the keyboard, like, I wanted to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that this was part of what I consider to be, and I don't know if you do, one of the main blueprints of music
Mm-hmm.
is to enhance our spiritual connection, or our religious connection, whatever you want to call it, our communion with something beyond ourselves. And that's how music's been used for thousands of years. When you go back to the shamans using it in drumming for rites of passage and to connect to spirit, or in church to amplify prayers, we sing them.
Mm-hmm.
So I realized that this is all connected. It's not spiritual music and non-spiritual music. It's not science and spirituality. They all dance together. And it's a language that we can use in different ways to make people feel safe, so they can take the journey that I did, of curiosity. And some people want to know the science behind it first to take that journey, and other people don't. Like, the other people who just want to feel it, and then they become curious. So that is how it kind of rippled out for me. That curiosity became something that opened up into a whole other type of career, where music can be used as medicine,
Mm-hmm.
and music can be used to magnify mission. And that's where I came up with the term acousticeuticals, because we have pharmaceuticals,
Mm-hmm.
have nutraceuticals, but acousticeuticals are low cost, non invasive ways to use music as a precision tool to navigate specific challenges that we have, whether they're emotional, whether they're neuro, whether they are geared towards attention or lack of attention, whether
Mm-hmm.
they are geared towards creating neuroplasticity. There are musical ways to support whatever traditional medicine is doing as well. So that's a long-winded answer, very long.
No, it is like, for me, it's like this, like you said, when you were playing with your mother and you still have this notes, they were like, for me, when you're talking, it's like music, and it's so coherent, like how you kind of all these notes are interconnected. And I love very much, because I have neurodivergence. I'm OCD neurodivergent, but then we have special wiring in our brains, and I'm very visual, and I'm thinking a lot of in metaphors. And I did love so much when you said that you're painting with music, like layer by layer. I literally can see it, like, and I can relate totally with you about the healing effect, because I'm not keeping it hidden for my audience, or for all people I am now interacting, because I know by interacting with people, we are actually impacting their lives. So I'm always radically, actually, with curiosity now, sharing my story, that I started actually my podcast being in a mental institution because of my neurodivergence, and it was a very severe episode of anxiety, depression, and OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder. And I was so grateful to Wednesday sessions, because every Wednesday we have like artistic therapy, and it could be different ways, but always it was the part to put us into the flow state, actually, with the music. And it was really the healing part of notes. And it was different approach I like very much, because they asked, like, they explained the interconnection between neuroscience and beats and everything, but also they encouraged us to bring our favorite music, and we could play for the group, because it was like group sessions, and then we should like explain why, actually, what we are feeling, and we could share. It was very beautiful experience. And at that time I started really more and more like coping, find mechanism with me, like yes, because I understood that music, it's a powerful tool of interconnections in depth, right? And now we, like you said, now we know more and more, like on neuroscience. Now it's actually not that much stigma and taboo talking about mental challenges and anxiety and depression and everything. So, but I think still we don't speak enough. We don't have enough actually arena where we actually really underline and focus the huge potential and importance of music as a medical and a magical tool. Actually, this is so true. So I'm so happy that you could follow, first of all, intuitively your heart, that something should have changed in your life, right? And then, like you said, you were praying and asking God to give you a signal. First of all, I think that the signal He already gave you by taking you and your father to buy the guitars.
Yes.
Actually, it started from mother. Then the second signal, actually, it was the guitar, because now it was not just about buying guitar. It was
Right.
like this iconic moment, which now the red thread of the whole your life. And then the God gave you mission to talk through you, to heal people through your music. But then, of course, He also had to follow you through all these stages. Then you should have elevated and came to, first, like you said, curiosity. You should started you started question, what's going on? There's something going on. I have to figure out balance, right? So it's amazing. And now you again, this special acoustic,
Acousticeuticals.
yes, I love it so much, because I remember you've explained me also before. And I think more and more now, like, especially now, we need more and more awareness, not just awareness, but impact of music for emotional regulation. We are constantly on stress and under pressure so much, right? And can you tell me, after, how actually then, and this is amazing that actually you were the kind of improvising, playing, and then like massage, and people start to, but it was already like the God gave you all this signal and sent all these people, right? Because there's never a coincidence. It's always a mission, like, so they're the right person with the right circumstances for the right timing, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So then can you take us further a little bit? And okay, you felt your heart and you proceeded that, and what another gems of God, like, signals that you start like picking up. Oh, was so true what I'm doing now. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, also, I want to just like honor you as well because the work that you're doing and bringing awareness to this and being so open about it, because it gives people the ability for them to be more curious and not feel like they are isolated in the world, that it gives them a way to become part of not just challenges, but part of solutions as well. And I think that's really important because I'm at that stage, and I think that you are as well, where I want to go beyond preaching to the choir, beyond people who understand it. It's more important to me to work with people who don't necessarily understand it at all, because that same curiosity is really the sweet spot for them to begin to look at music as more of a power tool or something that they could plug in to navigate their own energy where they want to go. And you're right, because music's so readily available, that is being confused with lack of value. Just because there's so many choices and it's almost for free doesn't mean that it's not the same powerful tool that we've been using for thousands of years that we can create our own programs with. And that's really part of where my next message lies within all of this as well. Because, very often people that we're talking to don't even know that that they're neurodiverse, right? In terms of that, and musicians and artists as well, we carry a lot of the same traits that are used to define that neurodiversity, right? High creativity, hyper focus, nonlinear thinking, unusual pattern recognition, right? You're describing a musician, pretty much.
Yeah, but I think you are guys and we are guys, like all creative people, they're
Right.
neurodivergent. Yeah,
Right. So
no
how
brainer.
many of us don't
We just
know
I
that?
don't identify it, but who cares? We are.
Right. Exactly. Like
Mm.
it's basically it's another way for us to look at uh, turning a challenge into a solution. And so if you think of it as a challenge, then it will be a challenge. But if you think of it as a solution, then it turns into a solution. Me going on a tangent for 8 hours in the studio, right? We weren't even using the terminology then of ADD or ADHD or any of these things then. But if I was labeled that back then, maybe I would have thought of that as an ailment or not continued, right, in terms of the path. So I
Yeah.
think it's important that we navigate it. Is the glass half empty or is the glass half full? And that's what you're doing with bringing a lot of awareness around how can you move this into stronger leadership roles. And on my end, I'm looking at it as well within those communities, but also with a way to create vibrational architecture, and right, and how do we build upon that architecture to create foundations for people where it is acceptable, like in corporate, it is something I can talk about in front of medical doctors. And I just recently talked in front of 300 doctors in New York City at the Yale Club for something called the Global Health Forum. And this is where, to me, it gets really interesting. And it's where science and spirituality coincide, as well as ancient and modern, because I spoke at the end of the day after literally a lot of talk about like AI in medicine. Very inspiring, right? A lot of talks about robotics in medicine. I'm scheduled at the end of the day after doctors have heard 9 hours of presentations, right? And they're looking at me like, why is this music guy ending the day? And literally showing them the science behind how music can still be a power tool. Something that costs you nothing can still be just as powerful as some of those things that were spoken about. And I gave an example. I told a story, Valeria, of being literally in the room with my dad when he was, again, right, that promise came forward within my dad's passing as well. And I'm just going to share the story with you and your audience, because again, sometimes we just have to go by faith and we can't second guess ourselves.
Exactly.
And so I'm in the room with my father, and literally it was one of the first times I had been with him in the room alone for months, because there's always family there when someone's passing, and there's always a lot of people and energy around with nurses and everything else. I find myself alone with my dad, and literally he's not there consciously. Like his eyes are moving in his head, and he wasn't able to hold a conversation with me. And this is the my strong father figure. This is the guy who bought me that guitar, who believed in me. Seeing my dad in that place, and I feel it in my heart as I'm talking about it, even to see someone you love not being that same person. And my dad was brought up in Brooklyn listening to Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., right? He loved big band music. So what ended up being my career of this healing music, he really didn't understand it. And he thought it was a little out there, right? In terms of that. So I'm setting the stage for this because it's important. So when I found myself alone with my dad, I said, well, let me meditate by him. And intuitively, I felt that I needed to create some type of sound with him. And what I was guided to do was to chant Om at the top of my dad's bed. But at that same time, because we're brought off with belief and conceptions of how my dad's going to react, I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to chant Om to my dad. He already, like, I don't, what if like he passes, right? Or out of shock because, he's all these stories, right, that happen in our heads, right? That small voice that comes in when we want to do big things. And so I said, okay, I'm closing my eyes. I'm going to just go to the top of his bed. I put my hands on top of his head, and I just started to chant Om, and feeling it move through my body, feeling the vibration, not just something coming through my throat, but just really, when we chant Om and we're like, Om, right? And we hold our lips in a way where sound's not just coming out of it, but it's making our whole body vibrate. And I can feel that moving through me. And when I had my hands on top of his head, I can feel like a gentle warmth coming from my dad's head. And so it sounds out there, right? And to people who have not had these types of experiences, it's amazing when something happens where we can feel things physically happening vibrationally. We are vibrational beings, and that vibration moving us and being transferred to another person. These are all things we know that can happen, through coherence. But when I opened my eyes and I looked at my dad, he was staring directly at me. And fully present. And I was able to move down and hold my dad's hand. And he wasn't really speaking at the time, but I said, can you hear me? Do you understand me? And he squeezed my hand, if you do. And we had this beautiful conversation where it was almost like he was surprised and I was surprised. And I told him that I loved him, and, I thanked him, and he was squeezing my hand, and it was going back and forth. And I'm telling this story to not as in depth, to the doctors as I am sharing with you, but I'm giving them the background of this as well when I'm speaking in front of this audience. And I tell them then when I was writing my book, I wanted to find the science behind this, like what actually happened that can be explainable to a room full of doctors. And I found studies, that showed that when we chant Om, it creates something that's called limbic deactivation. So the limbic system is part of the emotional parts of the brain. And when the limbic system is activated, we're in a state of of arousal, right? And we're not in that state of inner peace. So when they had two different groups in this study, one of them chanted, was a control group, chanted S to see what the fMRI diagrams would show, the fMRI that they took of the brain in real time that was going on. And what they showed was that the S had, when someone chanted S, nothing happened in the brain, no areas lit up, there was no benefit. But the group that chanted Om lit up several different areas of the brain and created what's called limbic deactivation, where the limbic system deactivates, your inner state of inner peace. You're in a space of calm, which is exactly what happened with my dad. And so we've known these things, Valerie, for what, thousands of years. Science is catching up with spirituality. But in order to meet people where they're at, right? Whether this is your audience might be really interested in the science or not, we always have to know who our audience is and how we could benefit them. And sometimes that means altering our language so that they understand, like a group of doctors understands the terminology that was used. And then they were like, wow, that's really cool. And when I asked them, okay, well, now that you have the science behind it and you know the experience it created for me and my dad, would you be willing to stand up with me and chant the Om with me? And getting 250 doctors in a room that is a very high, science-based room, right? And not just science, but the very most cutting edge technologies were presented that day. And bringing that aha moment to them, that music and sound and vibration are a cutting edge technology. And when they chanted with me, many of them afterwards came up to me and were moved by the story of what happened with my dad and had similar situations that they shared with me where they did things. And these are doctors, as well. It was a beautiful thing to see. And for them to also within 1 minute be able to move and navigate their energy after a full day of hyper focus to dropping into a more conducive state. And that's part of what was going on, right? Their brainwaves are slowing down as they're chanting. They're feeling it in their body. There's things that are going on that are creating, again, exactly where we started. It's creating curiosity. And that is, right, still the sweet spot. So after all those years, from 4 years old, to I'm now 65 years old, right? 60 years of doing that, the one thing that I know has not changed is creating curiosity is the sweet spot. It's not the place of knowing everything. And so when I hear sound healers that are coming up in this world and they know this, they know that, yeah, there are certain things, starting points, but I think we're moving beyond that of frequency panaceas or cure-alls that one size fits all that are not the best way to do medicine. Even for doctors, the best medicine is looking at each individual. What you've experienced in your life, whether your OCD and the whatever your traits are, right? You have a different vibrational prescription than someone else who might have different things on the spectrum. So why would your sound solution, right, or your sound prescription be the same? So it's really meeting yourself where you're at. And this moves into like practical tools that people can use, like who are watching this, is 3 questions I always ask myself is, and this is when I'm treating myself, is where am I now? Like, where am I now emotionally? Where do I want to go? Like, if I look at my schedule, and I'm seeing or feeling the energy of my day, and like, okay, well, at noon I have this like high energy meeting. I don't want to listen to relaxing music. Like, you probably want to listen to your dance playlist or something that's going to get you to move. So if you keep asking yourself that, like, where am I now? Where do I want to go? What piece of music is going to take me there? This is where we move out of having random powerful music experiences, which a lot of people do. And you
Mhm.
talked about it, people scrolling on TikTok, you get a sound that you like, oh, that was a cool sound, right?
Mhm.
And maybe you have a powerful experience with that sound. Awesome. I love it. But how do you move into being the person who's being programmed
Mhm.
to the person who is programming your
Mhm.
energy? That's the
Exactly.
big shift. How do you become the DJ of your own life and navigate your energy where you want it to go? And we look at our schedule for everything. Why wouldn't you schedule your music? Like, schedule your morning piece of music to, be something that connects you with gratitude, or something that's going to help you in the morning, and schedule a piece in the afternoon, like, it's time for me to eat and nourish myself and regenerate my energy. Well, it's time for your musical lunch, right? Listen to a piece of music from a different part of the world that gets you out of your environment, or
Mhm.
get up and dance to it. And then at night, start winding down. I mean, we've lost sight of the healing power of sleep, like on all these things we're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Right. Your ability to focus, your ability to hold your attention longer, your ability to relax longer, your ability to move stress, right? All of these traits that are really important within, like, all communities, but neurodiversity as well,
Mhm.
is utilizing being able to manage your stress more effectively, right? And that's why we call it the sleep cycle. It's not just when you go to sleep, it's how you're waking up in the morning.
Mhm.
It's how you
Mhm.
manage your stress at night, during the day. And sleep is such an important factor in all of this, but we've lost sight of the healing power of sleep. Like, sleep was used to be recognized. It used to be, sleeping was like the way to heal in the temples, as well.
Mhm.
And we've lost sight of the ritual of sleep being also the importance of dreams and connection, and literally restoring our energy. Like, you don't want to go to sleep with the same energy that you don't want to wake up with the same energy that you went to sleep with. So processing our day and looking at things that were challenges in our day, and looking at things that were wins for us before we go to sleep. So the analytical mind doesn't want to wake up and worry about the thing that happened during your day. Processing and not bypassing emotionally, right? And creating a ritual at bedtime. I can't stress, like, the importance of that in how that ripples into our day and into our lives. And that's why, like, I don't get insulted when people say, your music puts me to sleep every night. We're like 30 years ago. If you would have told me, like, that my music puts you to sleep, I would have considered that an insult.
Mhm.
And now the joke is that, people sleep with Barry Goldstein, like, all over the world,
Mhm.
right? And use that my music to help you go to sleep is one of the highest compliments that I can have. Is, wow, that's amazing, because insomnia just in the United States alone affects over 75 million people. Think about how that ripples out into the most important thing, our mission, right? And this is where you talk about leadership and 5 different aspects of leadership as well, that this is where it affects us most as well, is anxiety, sleeping challenges, mood, how we handle our stress. All of these things can be helped with music. So
Even now, you're just talking. It's already vibration. It's already music with me for me, because I literally, my neurodivergent brain, like, a lot of metaphors, but also a lot of sounds, like, and music for me, it's always been so powerful hearing tool. But now I figure out in reflection, it's so true. First of all, I like the way, so you are your own DJ of your life. This is so true. And why we are not really have like this musical lunch and that, that we can really make this, like, deliberately inwaved in our like patterns every day to regulate our nervous system, right? And it's our roots, and it's so true. Every type of music, it's true. It impacts us. It's programming us. Oh my God! Now if I have so much impact that I'm sure before I go to sleep every day. Actually, I have my meditation with gratitude, a morning and evening hour process in my brain as well. And sometimes really I have this music or sound inside. It's so powerful. Thank you first of all so much for this sharing this profound and deep story about and your connection with Father, because I do
Mm.
believe so strongly. I know about chanting, I know about how you activate all this system, and about this unity, like embodiment through the mind, soul, and body, and how vibrations really holistically, like I don't know, gluing everything magically together. And people, yeah, many people, I can just imagine like high tech AI people, and you came with this powerful I can just, it gave me really goosebumps. I wanted actually to be in this room and really feel the energy of these doctors, because you know there's so much, they live so much in the head, right? We like stats, statistics, research, they have always to get proven evidence and everything, and now you came, and when they can really feel immediate impact and transformation, right? So this
Mhm.
is beyond description. I would like because we are talking so much about music and the power, of course it would be not fair if our audience and actually this show should be excluded of this magic of yours. I want, of course, to say to everybody that Barry Goldstein, he was playing music for me, like So, what actually is? I love these three amigos, three best friends, trio question you're asking yourself, because when I'm teaching my actually also clients and mentor, I always have this reset tools that we can just stop, breathe, like in mindfulness, be like just with beginner's mind, ground ourselves, right? Or we can just breathe deeply, or three-step reset tool where really we can close our eyes, and where I'm now emotionally, actually I'm like spinning everywhere. It's false urgency alarm that I'm everywhere, or actually what I'm feeling. Am I overwhelmed? Just labeling, just naming the emotion. It's so much. It's like
That's
also
right.
for amygdala. It's like coming down. So that's why I want you intuitively to feel what kind of music, emotions, frequency you are feeling and channeling right now. Like if
Mhm.
you close
Well,
the
what
eyes
I would love to
and
do
meditate
too.
together, you can just sleep. I love meditation. I love this is my jam. So I can be totally, we can meditate, we can we can chant, and then you can play. So what's exactly now you're feeling like? What is the most
Yeah.
strong vibe?
Well, let's do this together
Okay.
first. And you mentioned a three-step process. I also have a three-step process.
Okay.
So I'd love to take people through this process because it's what I call connecting with your inner symphony. And
Oh.
I always use this as well for people who are just coming into sound and have never done like sound or what we call sound healing per se. I always say start with this fact that music is not just something that is happening to you. It's not something that is outside of you. That music is something that is also happening in you. So
Yeah.
music's not happening to you, it's happening in you.
Mm-hmm.
And your heart, your breath, right,
Mm-hmm.
are all part of this inner symphony. And when we talk about heart coherence, like even placing, our hands on our hearts, it's something that's very sacred. And when you're touching your own heart, you're giving yourself permission to go deeper and to connect with your own unique vibration. And like we all have a heartbeat, we all have a breath, but no two heartbeats and no breath is exactly the same. So this is like your home,
True. This is
right?
so true. Yeah. Oh my God. I feel just
You're awesome. I,
I'm my in the element, in the magic of moment.
awesome. I love it. So yeah, so tap into that energy that Valeria was just experiencing, right? That child like energy of that curiosity, and that's really what you're connecting to when you're connecting in your own heart space. Like this is something that has you were born with, and you will take with you and your last breath. So when we connect with our heart and we actually bring an awareness there and we're listening and feeling our heartbeat, we get to connect to gratitude. Like, no matter what's going on in my life in this moment, that I still have this unique rhythm, this unique vibration that my being is beating to. And even within those challenges, this is a sign that my life force is here and my life force is able to receive. And this is going to be a 3-breath process that we do. The first breath goes in through the bottom of your feet, and this connects us and grounds us, right? We're connecting with our feet. We're connecting to the earth, the energy of what we call Mother Earth. So this is the energy where we connect to that mothering energy. We nurture ourselves instead of taking a breath, right? We give ourselves a breath. It's a gift. So bring a breath in through the bottom of your feet all the way up to your heart. And then just give yourself a big sigh out. You want to hear that sigh. And that sigh is like a signal that everything's going to be all right. Like, have you ever sighed and just go, it's okay. Like, no matter what's going on, it's okay. And then the second breath we're going to take is going to be a breath in through the top of our head. And that breath connects us to this expansive energy. It's like being underneath a night sky with your arms held open, and you can feel that energy coming in through the top of your head. As you bring a breath in, it goes through your third eye area, through your throat, and then into your heart, and then we'll release it together. So bring that breath in through the top of your head, all the way down to your heart, and releasing it, feeling connected, to this expansive field of unlimited possibilities that you can have in your life. So then the third breath, bring the breath in through our heart and the breath out through the heart. And that just integrates the energy. And so we're going to do this one more time. And what this does, it opens up the space for you to receive the music more fully, because you're connecting first with the music within you. You're bringing a heightened awareness to the sound that happens in your body through your heartbeat, through your breath, through your sigh. So when you hear the music, you're going to receive it beyond your ears. You're going to receive it in a way that you feel it in your physical body as well. So bring that breath in through the bottom of your feet, all the way up to your heart, and then release it. A breath in through the top of your head to your heart, then release it. And then a breath in through your heart and a breath out through your heart. And just remember those 3 breaths through the bottom of the feet, through the top of the head to the heart, and then through the heart and out through the heart. So when the music begins, you can continue this process on your own. And I call this the heart song breathing process, because all of us have a song in our heart that we're waiting to sing, our mission, our legacy, whatever it is, whatever giftedness you want to bring into the world. Maybe set an intention for yourself when you receive this music, that you give yourself, you allow yourself to receive it as a gift, and just allow it to go wherever it goes. Just surrender to it. And then I'll gently call you back and we'll take a few breaths together. So it might take a minute for me to set up. So just continue just breathing slowly in and out of your heart until you hear the music. And just bringing a big breath now in through the heart. A big sigh out. And just feeling your body in a more relaxed but attentive state. Feeling yourself more present, aware, and thankful. And just give yourself a big breath in through the bottom of your feet, all the way up to your heart. With a big sigh out. Big breath in through the top of the head to the heart. Big breath out. And then a big breath in through the heart. Big breath out. And then you can just move your feet around a little bit, move your hands around. And you can open your eyes when you're ready.
Oh
And
my
just
God.
feel
But you are a magician. You made not just one day, not my day, my week, my at least month. Oh wow. It is cosmical. It's like it is really, really, I don't know, it's beyond description. Even I do speak 7 languages, but it's another language of yeah, that can be just cannot be described, should be experienced. So for me now, this is yeah. I don't know how I should thank you for all this just our like um words interaction where I do appreciate so much because in every interaction we it's so powerful, impactful. We are both teachers and students, and I could learn so tremendously much today from you. And now this experience, which we always of course will be in the bottom of my heart, because at the end of the day we know that the situations are fading, names fading, places where maybe, but the emotions and experience we are giving to each other, it right, it's like music. If you felt one time very special, and at that time actually was something, it's immediately put you in this state. So I will always carry this very profound heart deep state with me that you have been giving me now. I'm so grateful. So precious commodity we can give to each other. Before we wrapping up, I always plan a little game that I have my vice president. I don't have that big team, but intuitively, I take a decision with my heart. But I have one small girl, which is tough, sustainable, and she helps me always to fulfill my guest dreams. So it's her.
Oh,
And we
that's
should
awesome.
believe in the power of magic. We started with childhood, and I always connect childhood with magic. And I do believe in magic and music. Of course, it's magic. Music can make most powerful, great magic in the world. And we who are creating music, we are creating the magic, right? But all actually magic we can create by ourselves. So my genie lamp, she is amazing. I 100% guarantee she cannot grant 3 wishes because she want to have as many guests as possible, but one wish with quality, that's for sure. So my last question for today, I hope I wish myself, and I'm sending this to the universe, that I can experience more and more this powerful enveloping feeling you have been giving me now, with all this care and compassion and kindness, all this I could really felt in my heart. I could feel. So, but now it's your time. If you have one wish, just again, right now, with after this profound experience, you can give to my vice president how this wish should sound.
So my wish would be that all of the people listening take this with them and bring that awareness in, that they have the ability to, within a world that is quite noisy, that calm that they're searching for, that peace that they're looking for in their day is just a moment. It's just a moment away, and they ultimately are the creators of their own lives. We're just as I create music and people create art, we're constantly creating moments, and it's the same energy as well. When we're bringing in creative energy, we're not just birthing big visions and big dreams, but we're birthing moments, and that you can actually create a moment with someone by passing all of this along, by letting them know that music is still a powerful vehicle for transformation. And it is a language that speaks to each of us in a different and profound way. And I think that bringing that awareness would be my wish, beyond just this interview, is that that you share music with someone today that affects you, or you give them something that affected you from this interview. Play it forward to them, and that's really how we shift that through this consciousness, is again through that curiosity and through connecting with that child within all of us that is just waiting to be nurtured again. So that would be my wish.
So beautiful music of your wish. I'm journeying with all my soul's notes. So thank you so much for this amazing, amazing journey you have been taking me through today. I feel really that my soul could really grow and expand and touch this abundance. So, and I hope, I know my beautiful audience, so my God, that we have been given you this special, special moment. And please, please remember that, yes, diversity of thoughts, approaches, like that moment, bursting moments, it's just your way to feel your heart's frequency. And when you learn how to tune into actually your frequency, right, everything can change. Really,
Mm.
you have all answers in your heart, and you have, please close your eyes and listen more often the music of your heartbeat. Thank you so
Mm.
much.
Love it.
I wish
Beautiful.
you, I wish you, yes, the more beautiful, genuine bursting moments of this, in, yeah, like holistic harmony, balance, compassion, love, kindness, music. And I wish myself that one day, I am a big fan of hugs, so I can come and hug you, and we can do
Absolutely.
something magical in togetherness. This is my wish.
Awesome. I'll
Yeah,
hold that intention with you.
absolutely. Okay, thank you so much, and a beautiful, beautiful, wonderful, blissful weekend.
You too. Thank you.
Thank
And thank you to your audience as well.
thank you so much for you being you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.